Hello. Welcome to a second brief roundtable conversation with the 2023 ASHE Accessibility Committee co-chairs. I am Dr. Cynthia Villarreal, pronouns she, her, ella, and I'm an assistant professor at Northern Arizona University in Educational Leadership. And I'm a member of the Accessibility Committee and will be moderating today's brief conversation. Because of my experience navigating inaccessible conference spaces and as a person who wears bilateral hearing aids, it was my passion to be involved in this committee to do my part in transforming conferences to make them more accessible. I'm joining today from Phoenix, Arizona, and each of us are joining this conversation from different places. But in the name of honoring place and the caretakers of the lands that we inhabit, we want to acknowledge, honor, and give our thanks to the Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and Anishinaabe peoples in the city of Minneapolis, which will be the site of the 2023 ASHE conference. At this time, I'm going to have the co-chairs introduce themselves.
Thank you, Dr. Villarreal. My name is Dr. Emily Rose Corin. My pronouns are she, her. I am a postdoctoral research associate at the Pullias Center for Higher Education at the Rossier School of Education at the University of Southern California. I'm coming to you today from Buffalo, New York.
My name is Julia Rose Carpich. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a qualitative researcher based in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kat Stevens-Peace. I am a visiting assistant professor of higher education leadership at Oakland University. And also, I want to recognize that our co-chair, Dr. Daniel Blake, is not here with us today, but is an assistant professor of higher education at Georgia State University.
And I would also like to acknowledge that we have a full committee of amazing grad students, staff members, and scholar practitioners who are not joining us on this video today, but you can see a picture of them. And many of us, like myself, are living this disability experience firsthand, and we emphasize our humanity over perfection in this conversation as well as in all of our work. So to jump into the panel, today's conversation is being guided by the ASHE Statement, which was written by the 2019 through 2022 Accessibility and Equity Inclusion Subcommittee for the ASHE's Council on Ethnic Participation, or CEP. And it's our hope that the Statement will continue to evolve after this conversation, as well as after this year's ASHE presidential session. So there are several questions on this Statement, questions intended to provoke reflection. And we're inviting the Accessibility Committee co-chairs to provide their thoughts on a few of the questions today. So the first question is, as a reflection point, how do you consider your access needs as a scholar, researcher, mentor, student, and how do you imagine ASHE as a completely accessible academic community?
I can offer some thoughts on this. So in terms of my access needs as a scholar, researcher, mentor, and student, I am an early career scholar, so I very recently held the student identity and pretty much operate in all of those capacities. In my case, I have multiple disabilities and they are all hidden, which creates a privilege and also a burden at the same time. I rely on support from others. I rely on self-advocacy. And at the same time, I want to recognize that the disability issues that have been focused on in the past and studied have really been white disability studies, or at best race neutral. And so the Statement is really actively trying to change that. And I recognize that within my own disability axes of privilege and oppression. So I would say that there's no such thing as a completely accessible conference, and that's true with disability accommodations in general. It's not a check that you can just, ASHE could ever check off and be done. We never arrive. ASHE is in a great position as a smaller conference to prioritize disability justice over accommodation. And we cannot prevent access issues, but we can put in place people and systems to address them in real time. And I don't necessarily mean this committee, which is a great step towards changing the culture, but really focusing within the organization. So things such as the location of a conference, dedicating staff to these issues, and focusing on a cultural shift conference-wide. And lastly, I think it's important to recognize that CEP, the Council for Ethnic Participation, was the first group within ASHE to recognize, support, and give us a platform for this work. And we really want to welcome back scholars such as Dr. Villarreal, who may have stopped coming due to access issues in the past.
Thank you, Dr. Corin. So the second question, as you're preparing to attend the ASHE conference, how are you considering accessibility in all spaces of your participation?
Thank you so much for your question. It's really thoughtful. So, in my current role as a presenter and also as a committee member and planner, I make sure that active consideration goes across all of my presentations, in my stylistic choices, in visual and audio choices as well as technological access in presenting my work and making sure that it's accessible and people can engage my work as well. And so in the past years, in my involvement with ASHE as a chair and a discussant, it's also been in my mind to contribute with reminders to all in the physical or virtual room that the presentation takes place in, to have gentle reminders about best practices in this scope, and also for all members of the association. And lastly, in a really applied sense, particularly applied sense in my presentations, I think a lot about colors, I think a lot about sounds, I think a lot about moving images and font size and using the microphone always and things like that. So there are lots of ways that we can all contribute, and we should be, putting those things forward in our work.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens-Peace. And along that line, the third question, who can give suggestions for how to do it in presentations, in facilitating and moderating and participating as an audience member, and the importance of doing so despite what may be a learning curve for some? If you can, please point out some additional resources, and then how folks can follow up if they have additional questions.
I'm happy to respond to this one. One of the things that we created as a committee in this year's program book and put out there is that creating access for each other is an ongoing process that requires all of us to be thoughtful, creative, and open to ongoing learning and committed to practicing solidarity with disabled colleagues. A great starting place is to reflect on what you already know and do to create access and practice solidarity. So the access practices that you learned about most recently, and where you might go to learn new practices, that those might be good places to start. The presenter guide also has some great resources to get you started with this work. It's important to understand that ableism shapes many of the ways that we interact and create space for each other, whether we're chairing a session, presenting a paper, or socializing at a reception. These norms require intentional unlearning. Give yourself space and time to create accessible materials, be open to feedback and making adjustments in real time, and to pause and reflect on how you show up in spaces and engage with others. ASHE is a social space, and rushing past or ignoring access barriers pushes disabled colleagues to the margins and stalls our participation in the knowledge sharing and creation that makes ASHE what it is.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karpich. So we have one final question. As a point of reflection, please share what you'd imagine or hope to see as changes of inclusion moving forward within ASHE and disability justice.
Thank you so much for this question, Dr. Villarreal. A close faculty colleague once shared with me that when we teach in ways that are inaccessible, we are teaching to a small audience, and we're teaching with the smallest parts of ourselves. As a community of scholars, I hope that we can build the skills that we need to thrive together. Our collective hope and dream is for ASHE to be a space where disabled scholars can participate and convene, and that it doesn't need to be a space that we just get through at the expense of our well-being and our dignity, but should instead be a space of joy that we get to look forward to as disabled scholars.
This is a great question. I believe that imagining future possibilities and realities is crucial to this work. We need to actively unlearn and imagine. Similar to Dr. Karpich, I hope that ASHE and its members and leaders can work together to actively engage in disruption and community rebuilding. Many of our access needs align with other groups, and maybe we can address these needs together. My personal faith in support is in the form of relationships that we have with one another. This is also part of disability justice. I hope that ASHE can recognize how many of these issues impact multiply minoritized individuals, and rely on the labor of graduate students and early career scholars. We need to recognize that disability is not always apparent and needs may change over time and space.
Similarly to Dr. Karpich and Dr. Corin, I imagine an intentional space and place at the conference, across the association, and I imagine it to be an inclusive space where we're doing the work that we all care about. And so I hope to see a space that nourishes the professional futures and careers of many members of the disabled community and ASHE, of course, and to lead with an expansive desire, not only for disabled scholars across the margins and across intersections of identity, but also all membership groups across ASHE.
Thank you so much to our amazing panelists. At this time, we're going to close out. Thank you to our viewers. Thank you to ASHE, and we're excited to see everyone at the conference in Minneapolis. Bye.